Now, one of the most inconsistent things in Buddy is the ending of the mission Bait, where Johnny Vincent has two different endings. An angry ending where Johnny tells Jimmy to scram.
I got some of that burning hatred out of my system. Here's your cash. Now scram.
And a happy ending where Johnny is cheerful and tells Jimmy he's a good kid, much to players' confusion.
Thanks, Jimmy. You're a good kid, you know. Here's your money. See you around.
Well, as it turns out, the ending isn't anything random. The ending debate solely depends on who knocks Gord out. If Jimmy or any other greaser gets the final hit on Gord, you get the angry ending. If Johnny Vincent gets the final hit on Gord, you get the happy ending. But this doesn't apply to any other preps, only Gord. But aside from the dialogue, there is no different mission reward, nor does it affect the story at all, sadly. Did you know that in December 2006, Rockstar Games uploaded a Christmas special trailer for Buddy, an entire 2 months after the game released on the original PlayStation 2? However, despite coming out 2 months later, a lot of the trailer has more beta content inside of it than the original 2006 promo trailers. This content includes PT not having a winter appearance, for some reason, Chapter 4's intro being set on Christmas Day, because you can see the Christmas decorations in the background. The Collector's Mission cutscene is shown here, which wouldn't be playable until Scholarship Edition, which released in 2008, and Gary Smith scenes in the trailer are from a deleted mission known as The Paddle, which would also be a Chapter 4 mission, which could imply maybe Chapter 4 was going to be set in winter instead of Chapter 3. Did you know that Jimmy Hopkins' beta fighting style actually never went unused at all? While it was never used anywhere at all in Buddy, because you know Jimmy's style was changed drastically, Jimmy's original fighting style was instead reused for the non-Rockstar game Sleeping Dogs, where the protagonist Wei Shen uses it. So why would something from Rockstar end up in a Square Enix game of all places? Well, the reasoning for this is actually pretty simple, as the animator Soto Yuyama actually worked on both Buddy and Sleeping Dogs, where he worked on combat mechanics for both games. So there you have it, beta Buddy content lore is that expansive it's seeping into other games now. And full credit for this finding goes to MaxSilver18 for discovering this first. So, did you know that you can see some very early concept art with some of the characters in game? If you head to the Ballfale hairdressers and look around on the wall, you will see 4 pictures, and these 4 pictures are actually extremely early concept artworks of an unknown girl, someone who looks like a thin version of Eunice, Mandy and Christy Martin. Most of these designs were actually seen on a Rockstar developer's portfolio, which featured a much earlier pause screen too. However, on the Nintendo Wii version of Buddy, this was changed to feature even more earlier designs, using 3D models of the girls, but the skinny version of Eunice has now been changed to Miss Danvers, and Christy Martin and the other unknown girl now have blonde hair instead of red. If you've played Buddy, you're definitely familiar with Sean Lee's work on the soundtrack, but did you know that he was not initially considered to compose the soundtrack at all? One of the people Rockstar considered to make the soundtrack for Buddy was actually Mike Patton, the lead vocalist of the band Faith No More and Mr. Bungle. It's unknown why he was dropped from composing the soundtrack, but in an interview with Destructoid, he was actually asked about this, where the interviewer asked, "A while back, word was that you were providing music for the Rockstar game Buddy. That obviously didn't pan out, so what happened there? What direction were you taking with the music?" And Mike responded by saying, "I don't think I'm supposed to comment on that, but I'll say this, I was very disappointed. I was really looking forward to doing that, because I love the games they put out. I would not work ruling out with them again in the future because they are one of the best." So there you have it, imagine how much different the music to Buddy would have been if he was composing the soundtrack instead of Sean Lee. So a few episodes ago I showed you some cut content of Buddies that ended up in Sleeping Dogs. Well, today I'm going to reverse that and I'm going to show you some cut content from the Warriors game that ended up in Buddy. You see, in the Warriors there was a cut soundtrack that sounds an awful lot like Buddy's detention theme. Here's a comparison. So why did the Warriors music end up in Buddy of all places? To be honest, I have no idea since Sean Lee didn't compose for the Warriors game. So in GTA Online there is actually a library you can acquire for the Avenger, Heavy APC and TM02, which sadly was only acquirable by being subscribed to GTA Plus between March and April 2022, or of course you can mod it into GTA PC or use 5M. And this library actually has logos of Rockstar's previous games on it, including Buddy, represented by the Borth Academy logo, Grand Theft Auto 4, represented by the 4 in a circle, Rockstar themselves of course, and a few others. Sadly, as I'm making this, it appears there is no other way to acquire this library for now. And for the love of God, don't buy GTA Plus just for this, it's a colossal waste of money. So one of the exclusive features to Buddy Scholarship Edition on Wii and Xbox 360 was the addition to play local 2-player minigames with classes available in single player. But did you know that the Wii version of Art Class multiplayer has a really creepy unused enemy? Found by Deadpool XYZ, this enemy can be modded back in, and when you go to play Art Class, this really creepy face will just zoom in and out of nowhere. It'll just keep zooming in and out, and much like all the other Art Class obstacles, touching it will lose you a life. And after a while the face just disappears and might appear again randomly. It's unknown what the hell this is, but it kinda reminds me of the moon from Zelda Majora's Mask or the jump scare image from Black Ops 2 Zombies Origins. It's probably no surprise why it was removed because it is kinda creepy. Today I'm going to show you the most obscure Easter egg in Buddy. So around Borth Academy you can find some flags being hanged on the walls, and if you look at these flags, they feature the Lion Rampant of Scotland, which is a symbol of Scottish royalty, even going as far as to use the exact same colour scheme, red for the lion, yellow for the background, which is still seen on the Scottish Royal Standard flag today. The reason for this is likely due to the fact that Borth Academy is based off Fettes College, which is a very prestigious boarding school located in Edinburgh, Scotland. Now the other half of the flag is likely a reference to Rockstar because it just simply has the letter R. Now the symbol below it is also very interesting, and it's a very clever reference, because the symbol below it is a fret. And this symbol is featured on the real life Harrington family crest, which means this is very likely a reference to Darby Harrington's family. Did you know the original class reward for beating Chemistry 4 was changed drastically? Instead of being given full ammo for using the chem set, originally the reward was going to be the ability to make bottle rockets instead, as seen in the Buddy Brady Game strategy guide, which was made way before the game was due for release. This was likely changed because of the fact that Jimmy can beat Chemistry 4 long before he unlocks a bottle rocket launcher, which could mean chapter 3 the earliest, or more than likely the 4th chapter, meaning it's likely either the bottle rocket launcher may have been unlocked earlier, or more likely the reward wouldn't appear until chapter 4 or so, and would likely cause a lot of confusion. Now while it is common knowledge that Buddy on the PlayStation 2 had two different names in the United States and Europe, where in Europe it was called Canis Canem Edit, did you know Buddy's Scholarship Edition was actually given a completely different name in Germany? In Germany, Buddy was called Bully Die Ehrenrunde, which doesn't translate to Scholarship Edition but rather Bully the Lap of Honour, which itself means to sort of do a congratulatory lap around a sports field or track after you've won a sports event or a contest, which as you might know doesn't happen at all in Buddy. Now I don't know why Buddy was actually given this name in Germany, since apparently according to Google Translate there is a rough translation of Scholarship Edition in German, but yeah. Did you know that Buddy actually appears as an Easter egg in a completely different Rockstar game? No, I'm not talking about GTA or the Red Dead Easter eggs, but I'm actually talking about Midnight Club LA, and I believe this Easter egg does appear on both the PSP and the Xbox 360 versions. But anyway, if you find a GameStop store, look in the window and you'll flat out see a poster of Buddy Scholarship Edition in the window telling you the game's out now, and of course, you know, basically advertising it. There's also one for table tennis, but this is mostly a Buddy thing. Or maybe not if you love table tennis. But yeah, it's a rather short Easter egg, but there you go, Rockstar advertising their own games inside their other games. So, as many of you probably know, Buddy is chock full of all kinds of references to all kinds of classic media, mostly films and music to name some. But did you know that Rockstar actually put in a few references to the boxer Muhammad Ali into Buddy? Now both of these references come from the preppy Biff Taylor, who's best known to have been the boxing boss of the game, who you fight in chapter 2 of course. As sometimes when Biff's walking around he can be heard saying,
"Float like a butterfly, sting like a..." I need to come up with something new.
Which is one of Muhammad Ali's most memorable quotes.
Don't be rumble, float like a butterfly, and sting like a bee. Ah!
Another quote of Ali's that often gets directly mentioned is sometimes when Biff Taylor wins any fight he might say,
"I'm the greatest!"
and this is something Muhammad often stated about himself.
I told you all that I was the greatest of all time.
So because of this, it's probably assumed that in Buddy lore at least, Biff Taylor is likely a big fan of Muhammad Ali. So many of you know, in GTA Vice City, weapon and other pickups often spin and have a very colourful circle highlighting them, which makes them very easy to spot for players and such. But did you know Buddy was originally going to have these kind of pickups too? There's only 2 leftovers of these. Well, kind of. The first one comes from former developer Dennis Opel, which is very low quality footage, but we can see the coloured circles from Vice City in the background. But the second one is much more interesting and can be triggered in-game by Supermod only. So in Supermod, all you have to do is be on the skateboard, just ride it as normal, change into a dog, and you'll stop moving on the board because you're a dog now. Once this happens, press Y on the controller, the dog will bark, and you'll see an unused spinning pickup of the skateboard from where you were standing. This is the only remains of Buddy's GTA Vice City pickups. In 2005, Rockstar Games released their version of The Warriors, which was based off the 1979 film, and during production, quite a few cast members from the Warriors film returned to completely reprise their roles. Some didn't for a variety of different reasons because, well, some sadly passed away between the film and the game, and others just may not have wanted to. But in 2006, the actor who played Cyrus in the Warriors movie, Roger Hill, actually filed a lawsuit against Take-Two Interactive, demanding $250,000, claiming they infringed on his likeness for the Cyrus countermodel, despite the fact he declined to return when he was approached by Rockstar. The court case seemingly never went anywhere, as Take-Two claimed their license to make a game based off the Warriors film also legally covers any resemblance and likeness to any actors for specific characters. Did you know that Buddy has a Ghostbusters Easter egg that was completely removed? Originally, during the mission Funhouse Fun, Jimmy was going to be able to play pranks on the jocks who were being given a tour of the funhouse, while Jimmy was going to be in control of the machines around the funhouse, and one deleted part of the mission had Jimmy controlling ghosts who would sort of pop out of the jocks and Jimmy would have to scare them as much as he possibly could. Anyway, here's a deleted interaction with the Ghostbusters Easter egg.
Here we are. Nice.
Whoa! That thing almost hit me! Ah! You were scared for real!
This place sucks! Let's get out of here!
When ghosts attack, who you gonna call?
You probably know it, but that line is from the iconic Ghostbusters theme. Did you know that you can actually knock Ernest out in Stronghold Assault before his boss fight? So when you reach the observatory, do not aim for the transformer, instead you can actually aim directly at Ernest's head and just take him out from there. Doing so will knock him out instantly, and surprisingly you don't get a mission failed screen, because the mission just carries on like normal, which I find a bit odd. But yeah, once you destroy his transformer, in the cutscene after he just kinda stands there and just disappears after the cutscene. One thing many players have noticed, in the English classroom there's a map of the world that looks a bit off. Russia seems completely non-existent, China and India have expanded a lot, Australia looks a bit thin, and the United States seem to have annexed most of Canada. But despite players assuming this is either a massive oversight or the Buddy universe is in some weird alternative timeline, this is actually a correct map. Because it's not a map of the world, but rather a map of the world's countries adjusted for population size. And here's the actual source texture. Well, at least as of 2005 or 2006 this was accurate, but I'd assume it's changed quite a bit since we're in 2022 now. So the map still looks weird, but it's technically not an incorrect one. But it's unknown why this is in the English classroom of all places. Did you know that you can trigger a beta quote of Jimmy's on Stronghold Assault, but only if you're really, really quick? I'm not sure how quick you have to be, but here I'm using a mod to make Jimmy much faster. Anyway, once Stronghold Assault begins, instead of talking to Fatty, just jump the fence where Fat is and just hit him with a tackle straight away, then target him and taunt. If done correctly and quick enough, this will happen.
Forget it, Hopkins. You're not getting in without the key code. My ass-kicking skills will have to do. Fine by me.
This will also bug Jimmy out completely, as even after Fad is completely dealt with, he'll be stuck saying the same quote over and over and over again, regardless if you taunt or even greet Fad's, well, knocked out body, until the mission progresses further.
Okay, it's fine by me. My ass-kicking skills will have to do. Fine by me. My ass-kicking skills will have to do. Fine by me.
So many of you know that Sean Lee composed the entire soundtrack to Buddy. But did you know that after Buddy's release, Sean was extremely keen to continue working with Rockstar Games, and even submitted his own proposal for the Grand Theft Auto 4 theme? As you can probably tell, it wasn't chosen, and Sean was really not happy at all with the final version of the GTA 4 theme. Not because he thought it was bad or anything like it, but because he believed Rockstar actually ripped a part of his melody that he submitted to them for it, and tried to take them to court. However, Sean did later release his rendition of this track publicly as part of his Reel to Real album in 2012. The track is called Biker Chick if you want to listen to it for yourself, and the case was closed in April 2021. It's unknown what the outcome was. Did you know that in the mission Busting In Part 2 you can access an unused part of the mission without mods? When Zoe runs off into the Red Star building, don't follow her, but instead go to the Wonder Meat Slaughterhouse where you rescue Russell from in complete mayhem. And here you'll encounter a few enemies guarding the building from the outside, since you're never instructed to go here. Proceeding to go inside the Wonder Meats building, you'll encounter even more townies that will attack you on sight, alongside a load more pickups on the floor which are not here anywhere in free mode, heavily implying that this area was going to be used for an objective but was cut and they forgot to remove the enemies and the pickups. Another bonus fact about this mission is, if you head here as soon as the mission starts, the townies will not attack you on sight, instead they'll just be really hostile to you.
Hey, what's new? Fight me! You okay? You suck!
I think there's something in the script which actually makes them attack you as soon as the first objective is done. Did you know that Buddy's Halloween mission theme actually appeared 4 years before Buddy was even released? because it actually made an appearance in the PlayStation 2 game, The Getaway. The Halloween theme can actually be heard in the mission Filthy Business, specifically on the way to the telecom van, which is also the name of the soundtrack. The theme does not play right away, but it does kick in at around 2 minutes and 10 seconds on the soundtrack. The reason behind this is because Sean Lee was the soundtrack composer for both games and most likely just remixed what he already made previously. So Bob was a jock who, despite being deleted from the game, actually makes a rather odd appearance in the cutscene for the gym is burning. However, he's a rather odd character, as in the cutscene he shares the same voice actor as Jerry the Townie, but if he's modded into free mode he has a completely unique voice.
You're a pig! You ruined my life! Looks like we gets to have a little fun!
You forget I was on the wrestling team!
And is strangely listed as a member of the Buddies, despite the fact he also appeared as a jock in multiple pre-release screenshots, showing the same outfit as Yuri. His default appearance doesn't exist in the files, but his wrestling one does. And this is also because Bob was going to be an opponent for Jimmy in gym class, much like Luis Luna, who also has an unused wrestling appearance. It's also likely that Bob was going to be the original gay jock, as he is openly gay as identified by his quotes, but was also likely removed because his quotes are much more sexual than all the other characters, saying how he wrestles for fetish reasons and openly fantasizing over men's bodies in free mode and references blowjobs and such. So in the definitive edition, did you know that Grove Street Games actually put something that's technically illegal and highly out of place into the game? If you go into the safe house located in Prickle Pine, Las Venturas, go upstairs and enter the door on your right. Enter the room, turn right again and you'll see a computer located in CJ's bedroom. Equip a sniper rifle and zoom in on the keyboard, and you'll see a Microsoft Windows logo. This is likely illegal since the Windows logo is trademarked and cannot be used without permission from Microsoft themselves. Secondly, this is also out of place because it's a real life brand. GTA typically relies on parody brands. And thirdly, this is also the wrong Windows logo for the time period, as this logo is from the Windows XP era, which would have came out in about 2001, while San Andreas takes place in 1992. The accurate Microsoft logo would have been this. This is like the 17th take or something now.
Is that Jimmy?
Oh,
What did
for
I tell you about
fuck's
keeping your
sake!
nose-
Oh come on, this is ridiculous. Come on, can I please do it this time? Oh come on! Why is he in here? I'm completely screwed here. This is ridiculously hard.
Jimmy, what did I tell you
I'm not
about
even
keeping
surprised
your
at that
nose
one.
clean?
Come on.
Is that
Oh, for
What did I tell you about
sake!
keeping your no-
This really isn't going as planned. This is like my 18th kind of take on this. Yep, this is what I mean when I say you get a sword in the cutscenes, it breaks them basically. If I get knocked out here, I'm going to be really f***ed off.
Yeah, better switch than any other enchantment. Fascinating. Now scram. Get lost. You're just after our spud gun.
This entire scene is completely ruined. Did you know that originally, in the mission Weed Killer, Jimmy was going to full-on destroy the Crappy the Maxima plant instead of poisoning it? Now, one of the very few leftovers of this is an unused model of the plant after its complete and utter destruction, with the file name Flytrap DMG, therefore meaning Flytrap Damaged. It was probably changed because the team felt poisoning it was much more probable than, full-on smashing it up. So, as we know, Buddy has a fantastic cast, with nearly every single character in the game being completely chock full of personality and each having their own fanbase within the community itself. But did you know that there's a completely mysterious girl who was deleted from Buddy entirely? She doesn't exist in the game files, she doesn't exist in the beta Wii builds, but the only thing that confirms her existence is this one really low quality promotional screenshot. If we look near the lamppost, we can see a girl with what looks like short brunette hair wearing a blue dress behind one of the buddies. The only thing we know about this girl is she's likely a non-click student. But the reason this girl remains completely unknown is because there's no girl at all who matches this look at all. First thing you might notice about the map mod is, it does feel really empty, and don't worry, there are pedestrians and vehicles, they're just not at the academy. You can easily find any vehicle outside the academy, and despite what you might be expecting, there are no Buddy pedestrians or vehicles converted, it is just the default San Andreas ones. But I would admit though, the default San Andreas police ranger used for the countryside is pretty identical to the Buddy police ranger. So let's go over the good things about the mod first. First of all, the entirety of Bullworth is here. Like, if you use a jetpack and you go to the final showdown area, you can get a fantastic view of Bullworth town. And I feel like it makes Bullworth look bigger here than it really is. Another good thing about the mod is there are some beta map changes that I didn't even know existed and cannot be restored in regular Bully itself, if you know what I mean. Which is namely around the new commentary area, which has these strange vehicle blockades in a few alleyways, which according to fellow Bully YouTuber Simon Bestia, might be a deleted prop from the Rumble mission. So as many of you know, during Bully's development, characters were purposely designed to be much more cartoony and exaggerated, as you can see on various early models. But what you might not know is the concept for Nurse McRae, or Danica as she was known in the beta, does not look like it's from Bully at all, but instead looks like it belongs in a horror game because, well, just look at it. I genuinely cannot tell what Rockstar were going for with this design. Her skin looks so weirdly pale, those big booming intimidating red eyes, they just don't look natural or even human-like at all. The ears and nose are just like, they look like they belong on a goblin or a vampire or some other creature like it. I'm really glad that Rockstar changed the design to be that of an actual old woman and not like some deranged creature from Manhunt. Because imagine if you're playing Bully for the very first time and you just stumble upon her looking like that at the academy at midnight. I think that would terrify a hell of a lot of people. So while Grand Theft Auto 3 was without a doubt one of the biggest games Rockstar ever made for its time, a lot of people seemingly underestimate just how important its prequel GTA Vice City was. Not just for continuing on and trying to capitalise on the success of the GTA series, but Vice City actually influenced most of Rockstar's games post 2002 up until about the Xbox 360's launch. This is because nearly every game that succeeded Vice City was built up directly from it, with the likes of GTA San Andreas, Liberty City Stories, Vice City Stories, and even Bully being directly built from GTA Vice City itself, with all of the aforementioned titles having quite a few leftover files, including not limited to handling for vehicles, which don't exist in the other games, splash screens, which of course never get used, text, and quite a lot more. So if you're a fan of any of the games mentioned just, then you really do have Vice City to thank for it, for being a base that Rockstar just used to build up their future games on. In the game's files, inside pedstats.dat, there's a string for health regeneration which can be very easily enabled. But basically, with this file, everybody has a health regeneration stat set to 0. Changing 0 to any other number will enable it for that character with their style. For example, changing the 0 on stat N Ernest to 10 would enable health regeneration to Ernest and anybody with his style. Now when enabled in the game, it's kind of hard to actually see it in action, especially on characters with larger health bars. But if we use the Supermon to look at characters' health, we can see Darby Harrington has 1000 health points, but if I shoot him a few times with a spud gun, we can see his health is very slowly coming back. It is most likely scrapped for this reason, and because some characters, like nerds and non-clicks, would have very long fights considering that they take a long time to attack during battles. So one of the things that many people praise Bully for is the soundtrack, often regarding composer Sean Lee's work as a staple of why Bully is so memorable, alongside aging really well. Since Bully's soundtrack isn't licensed like Grand Theft Auto's, no music has been cut in recent re-releases like we've seen in GTA Vice City, San Andreas and GTA 4. But did you know this isn't exactly 100% true, as the background music used for the Scholarship Edition Christmas missions are not a custom composition. Instead they're tracks from Sean Lee's own album Ping Pong Orchestra. So if you're live streaming these missions on Twitch or playing them on YouTube, you better get ready for a copyright claim. Also, since these tracks are not a custom composition for Bully, this means a few people have actually heard the Bully Christmas music being played at places like Disney World, various malls across the US, and even appearing on the US comedy Vice Principals. Now this one does work on all platforms too. Anyway, to do this, we're going to rescue Russell from the police and then wait for him to smash open the gates after the cutscene. Once we regain control of Jimmy, we're going to run to the library, we're going to jump over the fence, and then go through the door. If the door is locked, just hop over this fence and then just move forward a little bit. That fence for some reason is always busted. Either way, once you're here, just keep running and running down until you're at the area with the cave entrance. Do not run forward or you will end up failing the mission. But instead, run down the cave area and keep on running to the asylum. Once you're here, simply skate on down to Blue Skies and go near Zoe's house. And now the fight has been taken to the streets. Some people have said that they don't get a fight but rather the normal NPCs spawn, but there is a fix for this I believe, which is also the Fix Russell glitch. The way to bring Russell back basically. All we have to do is enter any interior and then leave. Funnily enough, entering any clothing interiors will bring the fight inside there too, for everybody except Jimmy. Did you know the cricket bat has a completely different design when it's on the wall versus when it's equipped? It has a completely different crest if you actually sort of get the camera close enough to it. In fact, the logo you see when the bat's on the wall is actually Bully's Beta Bullworth logo, which was one of the earliest concepts for the Academy. As some concepts from 2002 had the letter B at the top but it's not present here, probably because it's a really low quality texture. Anyway, this was the logo for Bullworth or whatever it's going to be called until it was changed sometime in 2004. But that does raise another question, what the hell is Willow on this bat supposed to mean? Maybe we'll never know, but knowing Buddy and his cut content we'll probably find out in a couple of weeks.